This is a video about so-called secret ancient knowledge. This is Wake Up with a video about so-called ancient secret knowledge. Many teachers refer to secret knowledge, or ancient secret knowledge. Books which are hard to get, hard to read, hard to interpret, very rare books, or encoded books like the Bible or the Quran, the Odyssey, Gilgamesh, any Egyptian books, books from the Middle Ages that you can't buy anymore, and so on. If awakening or enlightenment has happened, you will be able to understand any book. If not, any book will be encrypted to you because of your identifications and judgments, beliefs, inner dialogue, and so on. All these programs of the personality will stop you from understanding any book with a lot of depth. No courses will help to understand, but once awakening has happened, you can understand anything easily. So anyone who tells you about ancient secret knowledge that only he or she has, or only he or she can interpret, wants to sell you something. Either you understand or you don't understand. There's no other possibility. Without identifications and belief sets, you can understand any book, and with them you cannot understand any book that has some kind of information about the soul or awakening or enlightenment. As soon as anything is put into language, it is at least partly wrong. This is very well discussed in the Tao Te Ching. So all books are encrypted, so to say, because knowledge, as we know it, is bound to language, and language is limited. Real wisdom happens without thinking and with direct intuition. It is very hard to put it into words, and as soon as you put it into words, it's distorted. But this has nothing to do with being a secret, but everything with the limitations of languages. Once you have access to direct intuitive knowledge, there's no point in reading books. You can do it just for fun or to see that there are others like you out there, but there's no more knowledge to be gained by books or courses. Well, any books or courses you do before awakening happen can't guarantee you any understanding. Real intuitive understanding of truths, as far as there are any, happens or doesn't happen, and has nothing to do with thinking or languages, or emotions even. Even if there would be any books where everything would be described word for word in a very direct manner, would still be useless in any case. If you do have the understanding, then you don't need the book anymore. If you don't have the understanding, you're lacking the experience, and the book sounds still abstract and theoretical. Plus, awakening and enlightenment are not anything that are better or that are worth achieving. It's just that you're awake. It's like perceiving the whole cinema instead of only the movie that is played on the screen, projected onto the screen and through the loudspeakers. There's a nice Sufi story about a city of seafarers, of sailors. There used to be a town full of sailors, and they were very famous, and they got very rich by sailing and trading. And after a few centuries, they didn't need the trade by sailing anymore, and the sailing went back, lost importance and popularity, and less people sailed, until a few generations later, no one sailed anymore. A few generations later, they lost the ability to build ships and the ability to navigate, but they still had ships in the harbor. And after these became old and sunk. The last ships only went to the museum. And a few generations later, when there was no one anymore who had ever sailed, and no one anymore who had ever built a ship or seen a whole ship, stories started that this was all a fairy tale, that there was no good old time where people knew how to sail the oceans. It sounded totally ridiculous that people could be able to sail on the sea and build vessels that wouldn't drown and sink and would be able to carry a crew. And anyway, if it would be possible, how not to get lost or what to do when a storm came. So it was decided that this was all legend, hearsay, old wives' tales, seaman's yarn without seamen. But one day, someone reinvented the wheel, so to say. Suddenly it became clear to him that it would be possible, that it was possible. And he started to build a ship, and it worked, and he went sailing. When he came back and told his friends about his experience, first people thought he was just telling a story, wanted to pull their legs. Then they thought he was a horrible show-off and just wanted to boast, or thought he was crazy or lying. In any case, no one believed them because it was common knowledge that it is impossible to sail. Except a few friends who wanted to believe him, although it sounded incredible and far-fetched, and thought he had discovered a secret. He tried to tell them they just had to build a boat, and then it would be possible to sail. It needed a bit of experience, but otherwise it was perfectly safe. But they didn't know how to build a boat. They just stood at the coast, looked at the vast ocean, the wild ocean, and thought, oh my God, this is impossible. What could he possibly mean? Build a boat and sail on the ocean. How would that look like? And then they started clubs and secret societies talking about sailing. Some even offered courses and wrote books about the secret science of navigation and shipbuilding and sailing, although none of them had ever taken to a ship and sailed the ocean. This is the usual situation we find ourselves in. As soon as you have a deep grasp, deep intuitive knowledge of how it works and what to do, you just do it. There is no point in discussing it or doubting it. If you have never sailed or never deep dived, scuba, apnea, then any account, any story about how it feels like remains a story. You can only know how it feels like after you have done it. How does it feel like to think or even dream in a language other than your mother tongue? How does it feel like to witness a sunrise or sunset or northern lights? The sense of wonder, astonishment and delight and romance. You can read books about it, but it will not replace the experience. You have to have experienced the sunset, a beautiful sunrise, the northern lights. You can watch pictures of sunsets or sunrises, but the wonder you experience, the deep, deep fascination of watching a sunrise or sunset or northern lights cannot be conveyed or described by a picture or a story. If you have never seen or used a computer, a cell phone or a car navigation system, you cannot imagine how it feels like to use them. If you have never danced, you cannot imagine how it feels like to dance. If you have never tasted a certain kind of food like avocado or durian or whatever, you cannot imagine how it tastes like. Try to explain to someone how an apple tastes. Sweet and sour and fruity. Yeah, great. Many fruits taste like that. Just work on getting rid of your identifications. That's it. Don't waste time with trying to gain any ancient secret knowledge or doing courses by people who claim they have such knowledge, have understood such knowledge, and can teach such knowledge. If you have a whole orange in your mouth, you can't drink. If you have identifications, you cannot access that kind of knowledge. And as soon as you can access that kind of knowledge, it becomes useless and unattractive because only action and non-action matter. It's still fun to play around with it, just with spiral dynamics, for example. And hope dies last, so you will still try to explain things to friends, and you need models like spiral dynamics for that. For some reasons, human beings have a need for communication. Even after awakening and enlightenment, it's still kind of important, it seems, that you communicate to someone else. And if you constantly are trying to describe something that no one else has experienced before, then sooner or later you will start to use metaphors or similes or theories like spiral dynamics. Not because they're true, but because they're better than anything else you know that can be put into words. The only other possibility is that you do not speak about it. You can sit in a cave in the Himalayas and meditate all day long, or you can just go on with your normal day-to-day business and occupation and pretend that nothing has changed, knowing that most people will not believe you anyway, and the others unfortunately don't understand. The truth is, if you do talk about it, you will find some people who do understand, partly or in full, and then you can use language to exchange and discuss experiences, because awakening and enlightenment happens for everyone a little bit differently. Not everyone experiences the same experiences in the same order. It is hard to describe colors to a blind person who has never seen anything, but it is fun to describe colors that you have seen to someone who has seen other colors. So it's interesting, for example, I have seen blue and green, and someone else has seen yellow and red, and someone else has seen purple and turquoise. I'm not talking about spiral dynamics colors right now, but real colors. It's a metaphor. So if someone says, hey, cool, yeah, I know what green looks like, but I've seen another color that looks a little bit more like that. Have you seen the sky? Ah, yeah, that color. And it will be easier for you to see that new color as well. Once you've seen one color, you can easily learn how to see the other colors in a relatively short time. But the first color, that takes a while. For example, last example, some people can see more colors than others. Often women can see more different colors and shades of colors and variations of colors than men. And sometimes men and women are arguing about certain hues of purple. Another one says it's blue, the next one says it's lilac. There's no point in arguing about it. You can train yourself to see new colors. You can train yourself to see through magic tricks. You can train yourself to see birds in the trees or fish in the water below the surface. I was in Peru once in the rainforest, and the guide saw all kinds of animals much before we saw them, and sometimes we didn't even see them at all. He would immediately see a sloth in the trees, for example, and it took us 10 minutes to spot it. But after you have lived in the rainforest for some years and have seen 20 sloths in the trees, hanging on branches, motionless, you can spot them as well. But there's no use in describing it. It's not a theoretical knowledge or skill. So don't worry, all is well. All true knowledge will come by itself, and then you will find people to exchange your experiences with. Before that, work on your glasses or your blinds, which prevent you from seeing. That is your identifications. There's one exception. There's one type of knowledge that you can attain before awakening, and those are called Siddhis. Siddhis are supernatural skills. Watch my Siddhis video about that. All of you, all of us, we all have Siddhis. We use them every day. There are some Siddhis which are not harmful, like being a very fast runner, and there are others that could be considered harmful, like power of seduction or manipulation or lying, or some that are situational, like being able to sell anything to anyone, or being able to learn languages very fast, or to paint beautifully. All these are Siddhis, and some Siddhis are more supernatural than others, or seem so to many people. And if you acquire these, then they are sure to boost your ego. So if you're interested in waking up, don't pursue any Siddhis. Some will develop anyway during your lifetime, that's okay, but don't try to acquire them by force, because then you will feel very special, and then you will not wake up. Because if you feel very special, there's no point in waking up. Waking up is to let go of your specialness, is to let go of the idea that you're the most important person on the whole world. So if someone wants to teach you ancient secret knowledge, then he's either a fraud, or he will teach you Siddhis, which will prevent you from waking up. While if you just wait for waking up to happen, all kinds of Siddhis will come to you, because you will have no more glasses which prevent you from seeing, nor will you have any inclination to misuse them, or maybe even use them. What for would you want to use them? Who would want to use them? There is no one there anymore. All that lust for power and fame and wealth and admiration will fade away, and with it problems will fade away, stress will fade away. So there's no ancient secret knowledge. There's false knowledge, and there's almost true knowledge. And this almost true knowledge, you can download it anytime. It's waiting to be downloaded. There's no secret, there's no mystery. And it certainly is not printed in any book. It's all freely accessible anytime, and it's direct and experiential. It's not theoretical knowledge, and it cannot be described. And you do not have to do anything or know anything to be able to download it. You just have to let go and go with the flow. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you for subscribing. See you soon.